Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, y'all. Happy Faith, Purpose, Profit, what I like to call FPP Live. A time I connect with you every Monday, 7 p.m. EST to connect all things faith with purpose and profit. And really to help you as you do two things: to start or grow your purpose-focused business, but ultimately to live as the highest and best version of who God created you to be. I see Renata's already gotten the party started, so come on in. Those of you that come and watch live, say hello, tell me where you're from. So listen, I am so excited to start a series with you tonight, a series that will be another 4-part series, just another 4-part series. So this series is called Cultivating Your Calling. Cultivating Your Calling. And so here's what I want you to know. You know, we just finished a 4-part series where I walked you through what I call my brain's framework, really so you can get clear on your purpose, your gift, the thing that God created you to do in this world. So it's one thing for you to know it. It's another thing for you to cultivate it. And you need both, right? So cultivate means to prepare, to foster the growth of, to improve by labor or study, according to Webster. And so, see, when you are born, God gives you DNA, distinct natural ability. So you got to get clear on what it is, who it's for, you know, all the stuff we talked about in the Brains Framework 4-part series. If you missed any of it, go back and watch the replay. But I want you to get this. Once you get clear on it, that's not enough. You've then got to cultivate it and grow it. One of my favorite examples of this is Miss Beyonce. Now, listen, the thing I love about Miss Beyonce is that you guys heard me talk about this during the Brains Framework, you know, the whole Sasha Fierce conversation and her coming to a time in her career where in order for her to grow her gift, she had to be willing to go solo, which was scary because she had been on stage with 2-3 other women in her career. But even after she went solo, won a Grammy from her solo album, oh, she didn't stop there. You know, I can go on and on about what did she do after that. Now I'm going to say this out of order probably. Remember, you guys, she did the Lemonade album that dropped in the middle of the night. Then she had 2 babies and then did Coachella right after. Who does that? Then that wasn't enough. She then did Black is King. And I can go on and on. The point I'm making is she's committed to grow. She doesn't stay at one level. See, God never expected us to live on one level and stay there. There's always more for us to do, but you've got to be willing to cultivate your gift. Listen, there even came a time in my own business, in my own career, where I had to be willing to cultivate. And so I want to walk you through in this 4-part series what you need to do to definitely cultivate your gift, right? And so here we go. I'm going to go right in, right? So listen. Here's our foundational Bible verse for the week. Oh, first of all, let me tell you what our part 1 is our title is before I go into the Bible verse. So again, the series is called Cultivating Your Calling. So part 1 is, why do you want it? Why do you even want to cultivate your calling? Why do you want to get clear on your calling? Why are you doing this work? Why are you even here listening to me and joining me? So Proverbs 21:2 says, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart. So I'm checking your motives, your big why. Listen, motives is the underlying reason for us doing everything we do. And so I have so much to talk about in this subject because as I do this work, the thing that I think is so interesting, I was listening to a sermon last night. I'm laughing at people's comments. I hear you, Erica. She said, I'm here, but can chat, but I'm all ears. She can't chat, but she's all ears. I know that's right. So listen, I want you guys to really get this. It's so imperative. See, God intends for you to make money in this world, but it's about profit. It's about the gain you give. But are you focused on making money because you want to buy things, you want to, amass wealth? And in other words, you're like, oh, I want to get that Louis Vuitton. I want to buy that new house. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but that should not be your motive. Those things are gifts because you've been putting in the work. See, profit means gain. How are you gaining the people that need you? We talked about this last week. So I want you to check your motive. Are you doing it to be seen? Are you doing it to get your name on lists, to have this perception, this approval from others? Are you doing it to glorify God? Because ultimately your motives are going to make a difference. Listen, God never says that the journey to live your purpose-focused life is going to be easy. But if you don't check your motive, when the times get tough, you are out. Oh, and it's going to get tough. Listen, I say this Bible verse all the time. My clients, those of you that are here, you know, you probably can say the Bible verse I'm getting ready to say. John 10:10 says, the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. The second part is what we always remember, but I've come that you have life and have it more abundantly. This is Jesus talking, right? John 10:10. And listen, you know why the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy? Because when you do the thing that you were born to do in this world, the world gains. That's how we bring kingdom down to earth. That's why God gifted each of us. And yes, you are here on assignment. You too have a calling. So if you're going to grow it and you're going to gain for the kingdom, you got to check your motives, right? See, when you check your motives, there are 3 reasons this is so important. I have so much I'm going to give you guys tonight, so hopefully you have a pen. Number 1, it keeps you focused. Now, what I mean by that is I see so many highly skilled professionals that start businesses that start in this area, and then they think it's not working, so they move over here. And they start doing something altogether different. It's like, no, stop shifting. Like I remember I had a client that was a career coach, and all of a sudden she stopped being a career coach. She started coaching entrepreneurs. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you helping people in their career, or are you helping people start a business? 2 totally different things, by the way. Now, there are times that I'm called to go into corporations to teach, but I still teach on purpose and get you in alignment with a gift that you are, which is my gift. I'm not doing anything other than that. I can't help you figure out what your next career move is, nor am I going to try, because I'm clear on my assignment and I'm always growing me. My question is, how are you growing you and staying focused on the lane that God created you to dwell in? That's why the Breeze framework that I walked you through the last series is so important. Because if you're not clear on your lane, you'll keep shifting with the wind. And you can't reap where you don't sow. And if you keep sowing in different fields, nothing grows. So it keeps you focused. The second reason, it keeps you from shifting. So you know clearly what you are meant to do in your business, and you don't do anything outside of that, and then you don't shift. You know, there's an organization that keeps calling me to speak because they love me as a speaker. And she said, well, can you come and talk about nonprofit management? No. Can I? Yes. Should I? No. Because that's not the lane that God created me to dwell in. Purpose? Yes. She asked me to speak on one other thing another time too. But you've got to be clear on compromising. Because when you shift, what happens is you're being irresponsible with your gift. Why do you want it? And why are you doing it? What's your big why? What's your motive? My motive to go and do that would be what? Because I love to speak, which I do. But then it makes it about me, instead of realizing that when I go and speak and make it about me, the people in that room do not get the transformation they need, because they need more than that 45, 60-minute, 30-minute speech from me. And if I don't teach and can't move them forward after that 45-minute, 30 for those that want to move it forward, then I'm being irresponsible. So it's not about can I's, should. The third reason is when you are cultivating your gift, it allows you to stand out. Now, my favorite example of this is David. Now, I've talked about David here in FPP live a lot. I'm not going to go all of David's story. Go back and watch some of my replays from the top of the year. But when God was like, Saul cannot be king. No, nope, he can't be king, right? God sent Samuel looking for a king, and he sent him to David's house. And when Samuel got to David's house, mind you, David has 7 brothers. David is the 8th child. Samuel was looking at everybody else because everybody else was tall and good looking, and yes, that should be the king. And here's what God said to Samuel. This is 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. So your heart is where your motives stem from. There's so many verse after verse after verse in the Bible that talks about the heart. Now, I even dug into my concordance in this Bible verse. I'm going to read it to you, right? Again, this is Samuel 16:7. Okay. I'm going to read the whole section. So this section is 16:6-7 in my concordance, okay? My Tony Evans study Bible. Okay, so it says, as soon as he looked at Jesse's sons, this is Samuel. Again, Samuel went to Jesse. Jesse is David's father because God sent him there. God said it's one of Jesse's sons. Okay, so as soon as he looked at Jesse's sons, Samuel began sizing them up. He may have recalled that when Saul was identified as king of Israel, he stood a head taller than anyone else. Remember, God said Saul isn't him, right? Isn't to be the king. It certainly seems Samuel had physical characteristics in mind when he just looked at Jesse's firstborn, Eliab, and said, certainly the Lord's anointed one is here. So he was looking at what he could see. How many of you guys look at what you can see? So if they look successful, look, they could be successful on paper, but they could be Facebook famous and broke. Or so many of you are so concerned with how many followers you have instead of how much transformation you make. God's not looking at what it appears like. Look, God's not even looking at your bank account. He's not looking at your resume. He's not looking at your bio. He's checking your heart. And listen, your heart is where your faith gets stirred up to. Come on, somebody. But as Samuel would find out, God's selection wasn't based on physical appearance or stature. People tend to see what is visible, but the Lord sees the heart. See, God knows your motives. He knows your big why. And so I want you to really check your why. See, it was David. God chose David because here's the thing that I absolutely love about David. I'm going to quote this. I heard this in a sermon. Listen, I get some of my greatest lessons in sermons, y'all. Can you learn to tend to the sheep with the king's anointing, but with the shepherd's responsibility? So that day, David got anointed to be king. But guess what? It wasn't time for him to go sit on his throne. He got sent back into the field to tend to the shepherds. Tell me that's not a lesson in motive of your why. I know for me, I've been doing this 28 years. Listen, for 17 years, I was broke and broken in my business, making no money. But I was clear on my why. I was clear that I'm called by God. It wasn't until I invested to cultivate it that made the difference. And it was when I started that, and let me tell you, I've been cultivating ever since. That was in 2011 when I hired my first coach. And my life has not been the same, has it? Because I'm clear that when you cultivate your gift, it makes a difference, but you got to know your why. Like, why are you doing it? Why do you want it? Why are you starting your business? Again, are you doing it because you want to be seen? Because you want to be famous? Because you want influence? Are you doing it because you want income? Now, let's be honest. I get that you want to eat. Yeah, we all need to eat. But the thing that I've learned, even in my own journey, listen, I remember in 2007 when I was getting ready to go get married. Now, I know I was going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it now. Now, this is before I had my big epiphany in 2010 and met my coach a year later, and I started making money. I was making no money in my business. $13,000 was on a good year, those of you that have heard my story, okay? So remember, I was getting ready to go get married. I got married January 5th, 2007. So this was in December. This was a week of Christmas. I had no money in my business bank account. And I said to my then assistant, let's pray, and I got to just trust God. See, I know why I was doing this. I'm clear that God is the real CEO of my business, and so I had to give it to God. And so in that moment, in 2006, when she and I prayed, and we needed $5,000, I'll never forget, to cover all our bills for that next month. That's how little I made, how little I spent even in my business. I went and got married, didn't worry about it. We prayed on December 26th. I will always remember this. But I said, I'm not shutting the business down. I need $5,000 because I knew we had money coming in later in January. I needed $5,000 just to hold us until that point where I knew we had a bunch of different things coming in. And I said, I'm clear why I'm doing this. I have to trust God that he will supply. And I went and got married. We prayed. I left. I went and got married. Didn't worry about it. When I got home on whatever date I got home, I don't remember. Okay, again, we prayed December 26th. So remember, back then I had a nonprofit and a for-profit. I no longer have a nonprofit. Okay. So when I got home, I had a check in the mail for $5,000 that came out of nowhere. So I looked at the person's name on the check. It was written to my nonprofit, which is where we needed the money, right? I looked at the person's name on the check and I was like, so I called. Well, first of all, I looked in our database to see if she was in our database. Nowhere. I emailed our board members. No board member knew who she was. I called the number on the check. I said, hi, may I speak to so-and-so? I'm not going to say people's names. And the person said, who is this? And I said, hi, my name is Nicole Roberts Jones. I had just become Jones. Nicole Roberts Jones. And she wrote a check and I wanted to thank her. And the person said, well, so-and-so, almost said her name, died on December 26th, y'all. She wrote the check the day she died. See, God does things in ways that there could be nobody else but God. I'm sharing that with you because I was clear on my why. And so there will be times when you will want to quit, when it won't be easy. The question is, why do you want it? Are you trying to be influential and you want to be seen? Are you doing it because you know that this is what you're called to do by God? Now, I know that I was having such a hard time because the enemy was trying to deter me. And the one thing I wasn't ever going to do is lose my calling. It took me a long time to learn that I needed to hire a coach. That's why I'm so passionate about holding a space for you all and making it economical for you. I'm being honest. It took me too long and I was being too cheap for too long. Let me keep it all the way real. But it was when I was willing to risk it all to gain it all that I stopped looking at my bank account. When I started looking at God, that money started coming in. God has been my supply ever since. I've had more than enough, like that woman with the oil. I've told that story among us as well. So as we start this conversation and really looking at why do you want it, I want to ask you 7 questions to evaluate your why. And I really want you to see where you are. I want you to really evaluate your why. So here's the first question. If no one ever knows what you're doing, giving, serving, sacrificing, would you still do it? If no one else ever saw it or acknowledged it or knew your why, would you still do it? Because God knows your why. Second question, if there was no viable payoff, if you couldn't see any income coming, would you still do it? Now listen, I learned, to be honest with you, in my own journey of having a 6-figure business and growing by leaps, I'm working on my $1 million now, right? I'm not focused on money though. See, more money, more profit. More money, more purpose is what I should have said. More money, more purpose, more profit too. But see, the more money I make, the more purpose I give to the world because I can then gain for all those I serve. See, when I make more money, I can serve more people. So for me, it's not making more money as in, oh, I want to have all this money in my bank account. And yeah, I want to do some things. I'm not going to lie to you. But my focus is on serving. And when I serve, the money comes. So if there's no viable payoff, would you do it? Would you joyfully take a lesser position if God asked you to, like David? Could you be anointed to be king? God gives you a vision of who you're meant to be, but it doesn't happen at that moment. Habakkuk 2:1. The first part, everybody knows the first part. Let me look it up real quick. Everybody knows the first part, of Habakkuk 2:1. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, right? But I want to read the second part appropriately because we often overlook the second part of that series. Okay? So me looking it up quickly. Let's see how well I know my Bible. Oh, I turn right to Habakkuk. Come on, Lord. Maybe that's God, not me. Anyway, hold on. Let me go to 1. So this is 2:2. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets. We know that part, right? For the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end, it will speak and it will not lie. You know why I'm saying that? Because at the end, it will speak. In other words, you may not see it right now. It takes time to get to it. I think so many people quit before they get to it. So important, y'all. Though it tarries, wait for it. Actually, it's 2:2-3. Media, I said the wrong verse. Because, look, though it tarries, wait for it. So the question is, are you willing to wait for it? Are you looking for instant overnight money? Listen, there's no such thing as hustle in the kingdom. Come on, somebody. There's no such thing as hustle in the kingdom. Will you work hard? Yes. But hustle has in its definition pimp and prostitute. Ain't nobody hustling God. So number 3, would you joyfully take a lesser position if God asked you to? So for me, many of you know my story of working in the entertainment industry. And literally, when God told me to leave to do this in 1993, I didn't know how I was going to make money doing this. But the one thing I was clear on, that God was calling me to do this new thing. And so, yes, I took a lesser position. But eventually what looked like it was less ended up being more. I make more now than I did in entertainment. But I couldn't see when I was making high five figures in my 20s how God could do more. I couldn't see it. Number 4, are you doing what you do for the praise of others? Are you looking for perception? Are you looking for others to highly regard you? You not always want God to be magnified. If you ever see me do anything, I'll say things like, thank God. I appreciate you and all praise to God. Right? And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to say a little term, but what I am trying to say is who I be is because I'm clear that I follow God's lead. But the question is, are you giving God his props? As we said back in the day, my age of myself, are you giving God his props for how he's created you? That he's lighting your path, that he's giving you insight and direction? Are you trying to take all the credit? Number 5, if others misunderstood or criticized your actions, would you stop? Woo, baby, let me tell you how many people talked about me for leaving entertainment. Shoot, I thought I was crazy for leaving entertainment too. and I'm clear. I see how God is using even my entertainment experience. I've been having full circle moments. Listen, I didn't know that Steve Harvey was to come, that I was going to have the opportunity to work with Steve Harvey. I didn't know that was coming when I quit. But God, the Bible verse says all things work together for the good. Not some things, not a few things, but all things. But God's not going to show you the middle. He might show you the end. That's the vision, though it tarry. Though it may not look like you think it's going to look. Why do you want it? See, it's the middle passage that people quit. Because it doesn't ever look like you think it's going to look in the middle. Or you're going to have to make some decisions that are uncomfortable. You're going to have to take some huge risks if you want to be a business. If you don't want to take risk and you don't want to be uncomfortable, then you do not need to be an entrepreneur. Matter of fact, you don't need to be a Christian for that matter. Ooh, I said it. Because there are times when being a Christian is uncomfortable. Because there are things that you have no business doing and no business saying or being around that you need to be willing to do what you need to do to glorify God. I remember when I used to work in comedy. And since a lot of you guys saw me on Fat Tuesdays, I get out myself on the documentary, right? And I remember I used to tell one of those comedians, listen, you have the filthy mouth and that ain't even who you are. You're doing something that you see somebody else do. So you'll never be the insight that shows the secret sauce that could be your funny. You'll never find it because you're busy trying to be somebody else's funny. And raunchy doesn't necessarily mean funny. If that's who you are, then great. But everybody isn't raunchy. Oh, I was not popular sometimes back when I worked in management with the comedians. Oh, I wasn't popular, but I was always kept it real. Because guess what? I'm a God representative everywhere I go. There are things I wouldn't say or do in those comedy clubs because that's not who I be. Listen, every day you wake up, there is a brand called you. And everywhere you go, you got to understand that goes with you. And I always wanted to make God proud. Well, am I perfect? No. Oh, I made some mistakes. Trust and believe. There's some things I've done and said in the past that have not been the greatest. There'll probably be some things I do in the future that aren't the greatest. But what I am is a person that's willing to follow my own sword to say, ooh, girl, my bad. I'm sorry. My mistake. So again, if others misunderstand you or criticize your actions, would you stop doing the thing you know you're called to do? Number 6, if the people you're serving never showed you gratitude. Look at Jesus. So many people back then talked about him, ridiculed him, but yet he died for us. Tell me that God doesn't make sacrifices for us. He sacrificed his first son. And you won't sacrifice a couple hours a week to work on your business, or you won't sacrifice your paycheck to invest and grow in your business. I'm not saying quit your job. Don't be stupid now, right? God never says that. God wants you to have wise faith, strategic faith. But you're going to have to do, listen, can I tell you, I took my fingernails off. I have not put them on since back in 2000 and, I was in the 90s. Yeah, that was like in 1995 I took my nails off and they have not been back. I've been wearing my natural nails ever since. So I started saying, what expenses can I cut? That's when I started wearing my hair natural. I went back to the perm after I started making money, but then I went back to the natural. But I started thinking, how can I let go of things so I can stay true and spend my money on my business, on my purpose to grow in the kingdom? See, I was going to pay for a coach over my perm. Come on, somebody. Oh, I still looked on brand, trust and believe. But you've got to really look at if no one ever shows you gratitude, if no one ever acknowledges you, would you continue to do what you do? And then number 7, do you judge your success or failure based on other people? This is a really hard lesson because sometimes what God is calling you to do, it may be different than anybody else out there. You know, even if I use Fat Tuesday for an example, I remember, and those of you that haven't seen the documentary, I'm outing myself, but I remember when Guy, and at the time I worked for on his management team, worked for his management company, and I remember Guy and we met each other on a show. We both worked in production on a TV show, and he and I became instant friends. We used to talk all the time, right? And then I moved. So funny, I never forget when I left that production company. I worked in casting at that production company, went to the management team, and he walked in the office. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I work on this team now." He's like, "Oh my God, I'm a client here." We were all screaming because, you know, we've been friends, and Guy's like my brother from another mother. I'm sharing that with you because I remember when he wanted to do this thing, this comedy room, because people were not going to South Central LA anymore to see comedians. He was doing something outside of the norm. I remember the first few months when the Comedy Store gave us the smallest room at the Comedy Store, they didn't think we could fill it up. Shoot, we didn't think we could fill it up. Every week, he had to look for talent before people even knew what this room was. So all of it was a risk. When I look at how much it grew, when I had to leave at some point because I was in grad school and I couldn't hang out late and get up early to go to class, right? But I look at how much it grew over time. It's because he took the risk in the beginning. It's because people talked about him and looked at him like he was crazy. And when you look at the Fat Tuesday documentary, I want you guys to get this, and I'm giving you your props, Guy. I'm so proud of you, is that he not only hung in there when the going got tough, but look at all the careers that got started because he was willing to risk it all to gain it all. You've got to understand that there are times when God's going to call you to do something that's outside of the norm, that's outside of what you might think is possible. But see, you're looking at what you can see. God is looking past what we all can see, right? So with that, I want to end with this, and as you guys know, this is part 1 of a 2-part series. I'll tell you about this, how you get the second part in a second, but listen. Matthew 6, 1 through 18, a little long, but this is good. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who's in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites. I don't know why I can't say hypocrites tonight. For they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. In other words, God has so much more reward for us. But it takes you getting clear on your motive and looking at why you do it. Not for recognition from others, not to be seen, not because you're trying to make money. Listen, there's a difference between selling and serving. I talked about this last week. Are you doing this to serve? Now, of course, you got to make money because you got to live. Of course. But when you're doing something because you're trying to sell, instead of because you see that the person needs it, and then you make an invitation for purchase because you see how you are the answer to their need, difference. So that's the first part of our conversation. The first part of our conversation, why do you want it? Part 1 of cultivating your calling. So as you know, I dig deeper. We dig deeper on Tuesday mornings in Clubhouse. Oh, this is only the beginning, y'all. So I'm going to invite you to join us on Clubhouse Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. EST, every Tuesday, by the way, fppbreakfast.com. Come on over as we dig deeper into this subject of why do you want it? And the reason I want you to get clear on your motive is because this is what's going to help you stay focused, uncompromising. Keep your eyes on the prize? See, the prize is what God gives back to you because of your why. So with that, I look forward to many of you joining us tomorrow morning to dig deeper into this conversation. That's it for part one for tonight. I'll see you in the morning. Clubhouse, 8:30 a.m. EST, looking deeper into why do you want it. Bye, y'all.